Imagine being fired from the company you created, facing death at a young age, and still changing the world. This is the story of Steve Jobs in simple English. Welcome to Easy English Official. Today, we explore one of the most powerful speeches in history, Steve Jobs' 2005 Stanford commencement address. You will not only improve your English, but also discover 3 life lessons that can inspire you forever. Chapter 1: Connecting the Dots. Steve Jobs believed that life is like a puzzle. You cannot see the full picture at first. Only later, when you look back, do the dots connect. This idea shaped his thinking and helped him explain life's mysteries in a way that inspired millions. He told the Stanford students about his early years. Jobs had dropped out of college because he felt it was too expensive and meaningless. Yet, instead of wasting time, he stayed around to take classes that truly interested him. One of those classes was calligraphy. At that moment, calligraphy felt like a useless skill. Jobs had no plan to use it in business or technology. But he loved the beauty of the letters, the curves, the spacing, the artistry. He trusted his curiosity, even without knowing where it might lead. Years later, when Jobs created the first Macintosh computer, those calligraphy lessons became valuable. The Mac was the first computer with beautiful fonts and typography. People loved it, and it changed the design of computers forever. A random interest had turned into a world-changing innovation. Jobs explained that you cannot connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them when you look back. At the time, the dots may feel meaningless, but later they form a bigger picture. That is why he encouraged students to trust their journey. He reminded them that sometimes life looks confusing. You may feel lost, like you are walking in the dark. But every experience, every class, every failure, can become part of something greater. You just need faith that the dots will join together. Jobs spoke with honesty and humility. He did not pretend to know the future. Instead, he admitted that his life only made sense when he looked back. His courage was to trust in something, his gut, destiny, karma, or life itself. The message was clear: do not worry if you cannot see the full plan today. Instead, live with curiosity and passion. Keep learning, keep trying, and trust that the dots will connect. This mindset gives freedom to explore without fear. For many students, this was a powerful idea. They were about to leave university and enter an uncertain world. Jobs told them that uncertainty was not a problem but an opportunity. Life rewards those who are willing to explore without knowing every answer. He shared that dropping out was not easy. It was scary and uncomfortable. But it allowed him to focus only on what mattered to him. That risk, painful at the time, gave him freedom to learn things that shaped his future. Jobs' story of calligraphy became a metaphor. A class that seemed useless gave birth to one of the most creative aspects of the Macintosh. This lesson showed that curiosity can be more valuable than logic. Sometimes beauty and passion lead to innovation. He wanted students to know that their random interests matter. Even hobbies that seem silly or irrelevant can one day become meaningful. You never know how knowledge will return to you, but it always does in surprising ways. Jobs' own life proved this truth. From dropping out, to calligraphy, to building Apple, every choice connected later in unexpected ways. Without those choices, personal computers might have looked boring, lifeless, and purely mechanical. His speech was not just about computers or technology. It was about living fully, trusting the unknown, and respecting the little sparks of curiosity inside us. Every person has unique dots to connect, and that is what makes life magical. He warned students not to ignore their instincts. Sometimes your heart tells you to try something strange, risky, or unpopular. Listen to it. Those small, personal decisions can change your destiny in ways you cannot predict. Jobs also explained that society often pushes people into safe paths. Parents, teachers, and culture may say, do this. Follow that. Don't take risks. But true success comes from walking your own path and trusting your own dots. The courage to step away from comfort is rare, but it is the seed of greatness. Jobs' own choice to leave college shocked his parents, but it led him to adventures he could never have imagined. That was the risk that gave him freedom. He told students that life is short and too precious to waste on fear. When you are not afraid to step into the unknown, you discover hidden treasures. Those treasures may look small at first, but later, they define who you are. Every failure is also a dot. Jobs showed that mistakes, losses, and struggles are not wasted. They are part of the picture. When the dots connect, the failures often become the most important lessons. He said that trusting the dots is like trusting life. You cannot control everything, but you can choose to stay open, curious, and brave. In time, life will show you why things happened the way they did. Students at Stanford listened carefully. Many were nervous about their futures, wondering about jobs, careers, and success. Jobs' story gave them hope. It told them that not knowing is okay, as long as they trust and keep moving forward. This idea is not just for students. Everyone faces uncertain times. Jobs' lesson about connecting the dots speaks to anyone who feels lost. It is a reminder that your story is still being written, and every page matters. The secret is to follow your heart. Jobs believed that intuition knows more than logic. The dots may not make sense today, but your heart knows they belong to something bigger. That belief keeps you going when things look unclear. Jobs did not say this to sound wise or clever. He lived it. His life was proof that trusting the dots works. That is why his message continues to inspire people of all ages around the world. He spoke slowly, carefully, and with emotion. He wanted his message to stay inside the hearts of the students. He wanted them to carry it into their future, long after the ceremony ended. The story of calligraphy and the Macintosh became more than history. It became a symbol of creativity, courage, and vision. A simple choice had changed technology and culture forever. By sharing this story, Jobs invited the students to see their own lives differently. He wanted them to believe in the value of their own strange interests, unique paths, and unexpected decisions. Every person has their own dots to connect. Jobs encouraged the students not to copy others but to trust their own journey. That is where true originality and meaning come from. Connecting the dots is not about luck. It is about living with openness and trust. Jobs knew that when you look back, the picture will be clear, even if today it feels confusing. That was the first and perhaps most important story Jobs shared at Stanford. It was about hope, courage, and the beauty of uncertainty. It was a reminder that the future is full of surprises, and we should be ready to embrace them. Chapter 2: Love and Loss. Steve Jobs loved Apple deeply. It was not just a company to him, it was his creation, his child. He started Apple in his parents' garage when he was very young. Together with his friend Steve Wozniak, he turned a small idea into something the world had never seen before. For a time, Apple was a dream come true. The company grew quickly, the Macintosh launched, and the world noticed Jobs' vision. He was young, rich, and famous. To many, he seemed unstoppable. But soon, everything changed. Jobs explained that just 1 year after the Macintosh launched, he was fired. Imagine being thrown out of your own company, the very thing you built with love. That is what happened to him. The board of directors chose to push him out. At first, he felt crushed. Being fired was like losing everything. He was humiliated in public, rejected in front of the world. Jobs said it was devastating. For months, he did not know what to do or where to go. But slowly, something inside him came alive again. He realized he still loved what he did. Even though Apple rejected him, his passion for technology and creativity did not die. That passion was stronger than his pain. Instead of quitting, Jobs decided to start again. He built a new company called Next. It was a bold project, focused on powerful computers. At the same time, he discovered a new love, Pixar, the animation studio. Pixar was risky. At that time, nobody believed computer animation could succeed. But Jobs believed in the artists and the vision. Years later, Pixar created Toy Story, the world's first fully computer-animated movie. It changed cinema forever. Jobs looked back and saw that being fired from Apple was a blessing in disguise. At the time, it felt like the end. In reality, it was the beginning of something new. His creativity had been reborn. He admitted that he could have run away. Many people, after such failure, might have quit completely. But his love for his work kept him going. That love became the fuel that carried him through the darkest time. Jobs explained that sometimes life hits you hard. You may feel broken, rejected, or lost. But if you truly love what you do, you will stand up again. Love gives you energy to start over, even when the world says no. He told the students to find what they love. Work will take up most of your life, so the only way to be truly satisfied is to do what you believe is great work. And the only way to do great work is to love what you do. Jobs' words carried deep emotion. He was not just talking about business. He was talking about passion, purpose, and meaning. Without love for your work, life becomes empty. With love, even failure becomes a doorway to success. He reminded them not to settle. Too many people stay in jobs they do not love, just because of money or safety. But life is too short to waste on something that does not inspire you. Passion is the difference between ordinary and extraordinary. Jobs also explained that sometimes you will need to search. Finding what you love may take time. He admitted that he did not know at first. But once you find it, you will know. Like a relationship, passion for work grows stronger with time. The story of Apple, Next, and Pixar proved his point. Losing Apple gave him space to rediscover creativity. Next gave him new skills. Pixar gave him joy. And years later, Apple bought Next, bringing jobs back home again. It was a full circle. The man who was fired returned to lead Apple once more. This time, he was wiser, stronger, and more creative. Apple then created the iMac, the iPod, the iPhone, and the iPad. The world was never the same again. Jobs told the students that this miracle was only possible because he refused to give up. Passion was his compass, even when the map looked empty. It kept him moving until the dots connected again. He wanted them to remember that love and loss are part of the same story. Without loss, you never understand how strong love is. Losing Apple proved to him that his love for innovation was real and unshakable. Jobs said the only way to survive failure is to love something so much that you cannot let it go. That love makes the pain of loss bearable. It turns failure into fuel for growth. He also reminded the audience that the world will sometimes reject you. People will criticize, doubt, or even betray you. But if your work is built on love, no one can truly take it away. Students listened as Jobs described his painful journey with honesty. He wanted them to know that even great people fall. The difference is not in avoiding failure but in choosing to rise again. Love makes that rise possible. Jobs believed that passion is stronger than fear. When you love your work, failure does not kill you. It teaches you, strengthens you, and prepares you for something greater. The story of Pixar became an inspiration for dreamers. A studio that once struggled became the king of animation. Without Jobs' belief and support, millions of children might never have laughed and cried with Woody and Buzz Lightyear. Jobs wanted students to see that their losses can create new beginnings. When one door closes, love helps you open another. Every rejection hides a redirection. Life is not over when you fail, sometimes it is just starting again. He also showed that success is not always fast. It took years for Next and Pixar to succeed. But he stayed patient because he loved the journey. Passion makes waiting possible. Without it, the wait feels like torture. He encouraged them not to chase only money or titles. Those things may disappear. What remains is love for your craft. When you love your work, you can survive storms and enjoy victories with the same heart. Jobs' story touched the students because it was real. He had lived through pain, failure, and rejection. Yet, he transformed it into creativity, joy, and world-changing success. His story gave them hope for their own struggles. He ended the second story with a message: do not stop searching until you find what you love. Do not settle for less. love will guide you, and loss will shape you. Together, they create a life worth living. The audience could feel his sincerity. This was not theory. This was his real life. His loss at Apple became one of the greatest gifts, and his love for his work became the reason he rose again. Jobs' second story taught the students that love and loss are not enemies. They are partners in growth. Losing what you love teaches you to protect it, fight for it, and value it even more. The students left with a clear message: passion is power. Without it, life is ordinary. With it, life becomes extraordinary. Love your work, and when loss comes, let it push you forward, not backward. That was the second story Steve Jobs told. It was about heartbreak, courage, and the magic of passion. It was proof that even in the darkest times, love can light the way forward. Chapter 3: Facing Death. Steve Jobs began his third story with something very personal. He talked about facing death. Unlike business or success, this was about life itself. He wanted the students to understand how death can teach us to live more fully. He remembered the day when doctors told him he had cancer. At first, it was terrifying. He thought he might die within months. Hearing those words changed everything. Suddenly, the future he always imagined was gone. Jobs explained that death is something we all know will come, but no one truly wants to face. For him, the diagnosis made life feel urgent. Time became precious. Every day mattered more than before. Later, doctors told him the cancer was treatable, and he survived. But the experience never left him. It stayed in his heart as a reminder that life is fragile. Even the richest, most powerful people cannot escape death. Jobs told the students that remembering death was the best tool he ever found to make choices in life. It reminded him not to waste time. It helped him focus only on what was important and ignore what did not matter. He admitted that people often live as if they will never die. They follow routines, chase money, or live by others' expectations. But death strips away illusions. It shows you what really matters: love, creativity, and courage. Jobs encouraged the students to live each day as if it might be their last. Not in fear, but in freedom. If today were your last day, would you want to do what you are about to do? If not, something must change. This simple question guided his life. When too many days in a row gave him the same unhappy answer, he knew he needed to follow a new path. That honesty kept him true to himself. Jobs warned them not to live someone else's life. Too many people are trapped by expectations, society, family, or tradition. But death reminds us that we have limited time. Why waste it being someone you are not? He also spoke about fear. Fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of judgment. Death removes those fears. Once you know your time is short, the opinions of others lose power. You become free to follow your heart. Jobs believed that living authentically is the only way to live fully. Pretending, copying, or chasing approval will never satisfy. Facing death made him realize that his heart and intuition were the only guides worth trusting. The students listened in silence. These words were not about technology but about life itself. Jobs was speaking as a human being, not just as CEO. His honesty touched them deeply. He reminded them that life is short, but it can also be rich with meaning. Meaning does not come from years lived but from how you live those years. Death teaches us to fill our time with purpose. Jobs shared that even in his hardest times, he felt grateful for the reminder of death. It helped him say no to things that did not matter. It pushed him to say yes to things that truly mattered. He wanted the students to remember that every morning is a gift. Waking up is not guaranteed. Each day is another chance to do work you love, be with people you care about, and follow your dreams. Jobs admitted that death is scary, but it is also life's greatest teacher. Without it, we would waste time endlessly. With it, we feel urgency, clarity, and gratitude. Death is not the enemy. It is the mirror that shows us how to live. He spoke about the importance of courage. Death taught him that courage is choosing your own path, even when it is uncertain. When you know time is limited, you have no reason to hide behind fear. Jobs encouraged the students to stop worrying about embarrassment. He said, "You are already naked." That was his way of saying we have nothing to lose, because one day we all return to the same place. So why not live boldly? He also reminded them that change is part of life. Death is the ultimate change, but small changes prepare us for it. Every ending creates a beginning. Losing a job, leaving school, or even saying goodbye can all lead to growth. Students began to realize that his message was not sad but empowering. He was not asking them to fear death, but to respect it. By respecting it, they could make better choices about how to spend their lives. Jobs said that no matter how long we live, the time will never feel enough. That is why it is so important to fill our days with passion, love, and meaning. Life is not measured in years but in purpose. He also shared that innovation itself is about life and death. Old ideas must die for new ones to live. Apple's culture embraced this idea, creating space for new products by letting go of the past. This message was both philosophical and practical. Death is real, but it is also a metaphor. In careers, relationships, and dreams, endings can feel painful but they allow new growth to appear. Jobs explained that one of the best gifts of death is clarity. When you remember that you will die, decisions become simpler. Should you chase money or meaning? Should you follow others or yourself? Death makes the answer clear. The students could feel his sincerity. He had looked into the face of death and returned with wisdom. His words were not abstract, they were born from experience. That is why they felt so powerful. Jobs encouraged them to embrace death not as an enemy but as a guide. If you are afraid of it, you will hide from life. But if you accept it, you will live more bravely and more honestly. He reminded them that no one escapes death, not even those who achieve greatness. But greatness is not about avoiding death, it is about living so fully that death cannot erase your impact. Jobs' own life was proof of this. Even after facing cancer, he returned to create the iPod and the iPhone, products that changed the world. Death did not stop him, it motivated him to move faster and dream bigger. He closed the story by urging the students to follow their hearts before it was too late. Do not waste time in fear or doubt. The clock is always ticking, and the only right time to live is now. The lesson of his third story was simple but unforgettable. Life is short, so live it your way. Love deeply, create boldly, and never let fear of death stop you from chasing your dreams. The students at Stanford would never forget these words. They were not just advice for graduation day. They were advice for life itself. Words that could guide them whenever they felt lost or afraid. Jobs ended with his famous reminder, "Stay hungry, stay foolish." To stay hungry means to never stop searching. To stay foolish means to keep taking risks, no matter what others think. This was the wisdom death had taught him. His third story gave the students courage. It gave them a new way to see life and death. And it gave them the strength to live their own truth, even in a world full of fear and doubt. That was the final story Steve Jobs shared at Stanford. A story about facing death, but more importantly, about choosing life. It was a story that continues to inspire the world, long after his own time ended. Steve Jobs closed his speech with the famous words, "Stay hungry, stay foolish." These words are more than advice. They are a challenge to live bravely, to keep learning, and to follow your heart. Thank you for watching Easy English Official. If this video inspired you, share it with a friend, leave a comment, and remember, every day is a chance to change your life. Keep learning, keep dreaming, and never stop believing in yourself.